There are words that retain their weight in every language. Death is one of them. It requires no translation. The moment it is spoken, the mind begins assembling familiar images. Hospital corridors where machines breathe in place of lungs, silent cemeteries stretching beneath gray skies, empty chairs at dinner tables, unfinished conversations, names engraved into stone. Every year, nearly 60 million people disappear from the world. Behind every number lies a life interrupted, a family forever altered, and a future that quietly ceased to exist. Anyone who has truly mourned someone understands that death is never confined to a single moment. It continues long after the final heartbeat. It lingers in birthdays that are never celebrated again, in victories that instinctively make you reach for someone who is no longer there, in ordinary mornings when memory suddenly becomes heavier than the present itself. Death does not merely take a person. It slowly erases every tomorrow they were supposed to inhabit. For thousands of years, humanity has treated death as its oldest enemy. Medicine wages war against it. Religions promise a path beyond it. Philosophy struggles to endure the certainty of it. Entire civilizations have built temples, rituals, monuments, and myths in an attempt to soften the unbearable realization that every breath carries us one step closer to silence. The Bible does not deny this burden. Ecclesiastes declares that the living know that they will die, and goes even further, claiming that the house of mourning teaches more wisdom than the house of feasting. More disturbingly, it whispers a sentence that has echoed through centuries like a forbidden thought. The day of death is better than the day of birth. Most people stop there. Almost no one asks why. Perhaps death has been blamed for a tragedy it never began. Every grave has an origin. Before the final breath came the first. Before disease, grief, aging, betrayal, fear, and every form of suffering that shadows human existence, there was a single event without which none of them could ever occur: birth. This video asks a question that is neither comforting nor convenient. It does not seek to glorify death or condemn life. It asks whether humanity has spent centuries fearing the final chapter while refusing to examine the first page. And if that first page is where every inevitable sorrow truly begins, then perhaps the greatest burden of existence was never death itself. Perhaps it was always the moment we entered the world. Death does not begin suffering. By the time it arrives, suffering has often spent years carving its name into the human soul. Long before the final breath, bodies grow fragile. Minds fracture beneath invisible burdens. Children learn fear before they understand language. Some inherit disease before they inherit memories. Others enter a world already consumed by war, famine, violence, or abandonment. Death merely closes the door. Birth is the moment that opens it. This is the unsettling foundation of antinatalist thought. It does not claim that every life is devoid of beauty. Love exists. So do laughter, friendship, wonder, and fleeting moments capable of making existence feel meaningful. Yet none of these erase a deeper reality. To be born is to be exposed. The instant life begins, vulnerability becomes inescapable. Every heartbeat carries within it the possibility of pain. Every attachment contains the certainty of eventual loss. No one chooses the body they inhabit, the century into which they awaken, the family that receives them, or the silent genetic code that may already contain the blueprint of future suffering. A newborn enters existence without consent, already bound to hunger, illness, disappointment, aging, and ultimately, death. The contract is signed before consciousness is even capable of asking whether it wishes to participate. Perhaps this is why the ancient myth of Silenus has never completely faded. When asked what was best for humanity, he answered that never being born was the greatest blessing, while dying soon after birth came second. The statement was never a celebration of death. It was an indictment of existence itself, suggesting that the deepest wound is not the ending of life, but its beginning. Everything we fear arrives only after birth. Desire, grief, loneliness, hope, despair, attachment, and the terror of losing what we love all emerge from that single, irreversible event. The question, then, is no longer why suffering exists. It is why we continue opening the door through which every form of suffering must inevitably enter. Humanity has spent centuries preparing for death, while rarely questioning the event that made death possible in the first place. We build hospitals to postpone it. We write prayers against it. We create monuments so memory can resist it for a little longer. Every civilization has searched for a way to soften its arrival, as though death were the great architect of human misery. Yet death has never created suffering. It has only inherited what life had already begun. The body does not collapse in a single instant. It wears itself away with extraordinary patience. Cells fail, bones weaken, memories blur. The heart beats millions of times until one day it cannot. Aging is not an interruption of life. It is one of life's most faithful companions, walking beside us from the moment we are born, even when youth convinces us otherwise. The same is true of grief. Long before death visits a family, separation has already become part of existence. Friendships dissolve. Parents grow old. Children leave home. Love changes its shape. Entire versions of ourselves disappear with time, leaving behind only fragments that memory struggles to preserve. To survive is to witness an endless procession of small endings before the final one ever arrives. Perhaps this is why death appears so terrifying. It has a date, a ceremony, and a grave. Birth receives balloons, applause, and celebration. Death receives silence. One is welcomed as a miracle, the other mourned as a catastrophe. Yet they belong to the same story. Every fear associated with death first learned to breathe through life. Without birth, there would be no aging to dread, no loved ones to lose, no diagnosis to fear, no loneliness to endure, and no final farewell waiting somewhere beyond the horizon. Death closes the account. Birth is the moment it is opened. There is a profound difference between accepting a risk and discovering that it was imposed upon you after it was already too late to refuse. Every meaningful decision in life begins with the possibility of saying no. We choose whether to sign a contract, cross an ocean, enter a relationship, or walk away from danger. Choice gives responsibility its meaning. Consent gives freedom its value. Birth offers neither. No one was asked whether they wished to exist. No one chose the century they would inhabit, the body they would awaken inside, the family that would shape their earliest memories, or the invisible chain of circumstances that would quietly determine much of their future. Before we could speak, think, or understand, the most irreversible decision of our existence had already been made by someone else. This is where the ethical question of antinatalism becomes impossible to ignore. To create a life is to place another consciousness inside a world whose future cannot be guaranteed. Joy may await them, yet so may unbearable grief. They may experience love beyond words, only to discover that every love eventually carries the possibility of separation. They may build dreams over decades and watch them disappear in a single afternoon. Illness, betrayal, disability, war, loneliness, and death are never certainties for any one individual, but they remain possibilities that no parent, no society, and no faith can erase. The child inherits all of it without negotiation. Existence is often described as a gift, yet every gift can be declined. Birth alone arrives already accepted on behalf of the one who must bear its weight. Perhaps that is the deepest responsibility hidden behind every cradle. To bring someone into existence is not simply to offer them a chance to live. It is to entrust them with every burden that life has always carried, while knowing that no human being possesses the power to promise the journey will be worth its cost. At this point, an obvious objection begins to emerge. If birth is the event that makes every form of suffering possible, wouldn't death be the answer? The question seems reasonable at first. It carries a certain cold logic. If existence is the source of pain, then ending existence should end pain as well. Yet this conclusion overlooks something essential. Death does not erase a life. It only prevents it from continuing. Everything that has been lived remains lived. Every wound that shaped a childhood still shaped it. Every sleepless night, every betrayal, every illness, every funeral, every fear etched into the mind continues to belong to the story that has already unfolded. Death possesses no power over the past. It cannot reach backward through time and untangle the suffering that existence has already woven into a human life. This is why antinatalism has never been a philosophy about seeking death. It is a philosophy about questioning beginnings. Once a consciousness exists, it develops hopes, memories, attachments, and reasons to remain alive. It learns to love despite knowing that love can be taken away. It creates meaning in a world that offers no guarantee of permanence. The ethical question no longer concerns ending that life, but recognizing the responsibility that existed before it ever began. Imagine dropping a stone into still water. The ripples spread in every direction until the surface has been transformed. Removing the stone afterward cannot restore the lake to the silence it possessed before the impact. The movement has already happened. Birth is that first disturbance. Everything else unfolds from it. The debate, then, is not whether lives already in progress deserve to continue. They do. The deeper question asks whether anyone has the moral certainty to begin a journey whose destination has always included loss, suffering, decay, and death. Death ends the story. Birth is the decision that made the story inevitable. Since the beginning of this reflection, one question has quietly followed us. Is there a sin greater than death? For most of human history, the answer seemed obvious. Death appeared to be the ultimate evil, the force that tears families apart, buries dreams, and reminds every generation that nothing built by human hands can escape time forever. We have spent centuries declaring war against it, as though it were the author of every tragedy that has ever unfolded beneath the sun. Yet death has never chosen its victims. It never walks into an empty universe. It only arrives where birth has already prepared the way. Every sorrow that defines the human condition depends on a life that first had to begin. Fear requires a mind capable of imagining tomorrow. Grief requires love. Loneliness requires consciousness. Disease requires a living body vulnerable to decay. Even death itself can only exist where birth has already breathed life into flesh. Remove the first event, and every suffering that follows disappears with it, not because it was defeated, but because it never found a place to exist. This is the unsettling shift that antinatalism asks us to consider. It does not argue that life is meaningless for those who are already here. Human beings continue to find beauty in music, friendship, faith, family, art, sacrifice, and love. These experiences are undeniably real. They illuminate even the darkest years of existence. Yet no amount of beauty can revoke the oldest law of life. Everything we cherish remains vulnerable. Every embrace ends. Every memory fades. Every body returns to dust. Ecclesiastes never hides this truth. Generation after generation enters the world, only to leave it behind. The earth remains. We do not. The same silence that surrounded us before birth eventually welcomes us again, while everything we struggled to preserve slowly slips beyond our reach. Perhaps this is why the question refuses to disappear. If a sin is understood as the act that sets suffering into motion, then death seems less like the guilty party and more like the final witness. It closes the circle, but it never drew it. So perhaps humanity has feared the wrong event all along. Perhaps death has carried the blame for a story it never wrote. And perhaps the most unsettling question was never why we die. Perhaps it has always been why we continue celebrating the one moment that makes every loss, every fear, every tear, and every grave not merely possible, but inevitable. Before you go, I'd like to ask you for one small favor. If these videos make you think, challenge your perspective, or simply keep you company during moments of reflection, consider supporting the channel. Becoming a member gives you access to more than 100 exclusive videos, and you can even try it free for 1 month, so there's nothing to lose. If memberships aren't for you, you can also support this video with super thanks. Every contribution helps keep this project alive and allows these conversations to continue. That said, I want to be honest about something. Simply being here, watching until the end, leaving a like, and sharing these videos already helps more than you probably realize. Your time is valuable, and the fact that you've chosen to spend some of it here means a great deal. Whether you're a member, send a super thanks, or simply continue watching, thank you for being part of this community. I'll see you in the next video.